And we're live. Hello.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, and it's umbraCoffee episode 274. And look who we have today, hot off the press, Paul Seal. How are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, not too bad. I've had a busy week. But it's been okay. It's been okay. Marcin, you're not where you usually are. There's lots of Danish words in the background. What's going
Probably
on?
some good eyes will spot some Danish words here. I'm in Novi office, and we are heading today to the camp for the company integration. And I was traveling for the whole Thursday yesterday, and yeah, I'm here, and yeah, sunny weather, enjoying the office space and colleagues and everything else in Danish. So that's fun. But it's a lovely weather, and it's great place always to be here.
Yeah, and
better internet probably also.
We can't quite say the same thing about the weather in the UK at the moment, but
really?
yeah, no, very jealous. Well, Paul, of course, we'll actually come to talk a little bit more about the exact reason why you're here in a bit, because you've just shown off something pretty cool. But maybe let's dive into some quick news first, and we'll start with some releases. So this week, Umbraco released the final versions of nearly said it. Can't call it. Umbraco Workflow still. Umbraco Workflow 11.2 and 10.2. This is an article written up by Nathan that just explains some of the new features, one of which is approval thresholds. So you need a couple of people or a group. They've got this concept of groups to say these people need to approve this thing before the workflow proceeds, which is fairly cool. We've built something like this in the past, but using events, and it wasn't very fun. So it's great to see this is in there. I'm sure it's well asked for, and there's a few other things, some features that honestly I don't really understand because I'm not a plumber. Umbraco Workflow.
But what about you? Have you used Workflow?
I've never used it. No, never used it.
Yeah, we use it for a very specific use case. It's not something we're using on everything.
But I mentioned it on one of the episodes that a lot of discussions is around that because people some companies were using external tools for some content workflows, approvals, and there are some tools that are doing only that. There are some organizations who are strict into following the workflows like that. But I do really like references in that to the DevOps, for example, where I love to use workflows, for example, right? And this is where I see the same potential for content creators, and I'm also looking for a perfect use case to finally use it, yeah, it's somewhere ahead of time, I believe.
I do remember actually I had a chat with Matt from Vendor, and he was talking about how he needed to build a workflow into Vendor, I think it was. And so this was a while ago, and he was talking about maybe speaking to Nathan about it, because obviously it crosses over with what Nathan's doing, but it's okay now because they both work for Umbraco.
Indeed.
They can talk more about it.
Yeah.
For a while, they were both exploring an open source workflow tool. I can't remember what it was, a .NET type thing. I think they were both exploring that and maybe basing Vendor plus Plumber at the time off of that or the workflow elements of it. So yes, we'll see what happens with the upcoming changes that are going to happen to Vendor, and of course Plumber's now fully integrated into the Umbraco world as workflow. So yeah,
but we have two great event-driven kind of developers, right? Who are very keen on letting us to hook into a lot of actions within the CMS. So that can only be a positive side effect for us, and especially that I always dreamed about kind of making some kind of just triggers and actions based on specific situations in the workflow. And now it seems like they can even talk to each other. The different solutions and vendors can raise the events, can gather and capture the events, which would be really, really cool to work with, I believe, in the future.
Yeah. Cool. We had another exciting release this week, or shall I say 3 releases. We, of course, had Matt Bedgen on couple months ago now to show off the accessibility reporter package that he's been working on. So this is this dashboard you can run in the CMS, and it will run a set of accessibility checks on your website, bring back a report, tell you all the things you need to fix. I think ahead of the Umbrad and Global Accessibility Awareness Day coming up next week. Matt's been working on some polish for this because he's going to be doing a talk. So yeah, 3 releases out. I'm not quite sure exactly what's in them because the package is still, I guess, well, it's open source, but there's the open source element of it as well because it's it uses a function behind the scenes to go and do the accessibility reporting itself. But yeah, new version of that from the Jive team. Also,
I can share one feedback regarding this package, that since I showed it to our project managers and people inside the team, they are all looking forward to having something like this for all of the projects, the old versions, the new versions. They want to have a visual representation of this accessibility test. And I think that if Matt is listening, or if the Umbrad output will be something like a commercialization of this package, or maybe more reach for the package and the versions, that would be lovely, because it exactly does what it should do and presents it in the way that everyone can understand it, not in the console or external tool, which is not that readable for human.
Definitely, and we of course, when we had Matt on, discussed about potentially making it more pluggable or being able to host your own agent to do the actual scanning itself. I'm sure as time goes on, this can get some big use from the community, but. Let's see here. The other package we wanted to highlight this week was Tag Helpers, which is a project I believe, Paul, you've contributed to a little bit.
Yeah, I have. It captured my imagination when V9 was coming out and people were talking about tag helpers and things like that. And I know I had my edit link that was this individual package, but I contributed it to this. And I think I fixed a bug in
this one. So V1.1 came out on Friday last week, just after umbraCoffee. Warren, you know better. Includes a bug fix by Paul, includes a few contributions by the community from David Peck, from Phil Helton, from Richard, and also a new feature from Matt Wise. So this is the the Our Link tag helper, which I'm assuming takes the built-in URL picker and outputs now allows for fallbacks. I'm assuming that's like property fallbacks in the CMS. You can tell I haven't used this package. Still feel a little bit alien using the sort of tag syntax in Razor because I got so used to moving away from web forms and over to everything in Razor being just pure markup, and then it's an @ symbol followed by my code, that I've not gone back the other way just yet. And it's the same reason I'm not quite a fan of Blazor, but hey.
But has any of you used Telerik's set of controls for any of the .NET applications? It reminds me exactly this. It was like just a namespace, like a Telerik semicolon, and it was like a name of the component, like our link or linked list or linked list. It was a set of hidden functionalities that you were not aware of, but it's exactly this in the maybe more modern form, which is exactly reminds good old web form days for all of us who did it.
Good old for some. Cool. Yeah. So there was a few other little package updates this week from things like uSync, Contentment, SEO Visualizer, Skybrud redirects, some very popular ones, all getting some minor incremental bumps as well. Links are all down below for those. Alrighty. So Paul, yesterday you released something on YouTube. So it's not out yet, is it? You're showing off a demo currently.
Yeah, so I teased a tweet about it a week ago or something, and I intended to, like, in the next day or two after that, actually release a video demo of it or something. But I'll be honest, I had some bugs in it, so it was never in a state where I was able to like demo it. And I've really enjoyed in my evenings and some Fridays at work. I've enjoyed iterating on this, just to keep improving it and making it better. But in a nutshell, what it is it's just like a quick way. If you imagine you've got a static HTML site that maybe your front-end developer has just given you, or you bought a theme off the internet and you want to turn this theme into a working Umbraco site, you take that HTML and you just add some data attributes to it. And those attributes I've got a README file actually that I can share with you if that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel free to share your screen.
And this is something that I didn't put in the video. Share
exclusive.
screen.
We'll get into behind the scenes and explore the library that you use to parse HTML.
Yeah.
soon.
So can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea is that you just add these data attributes, and it will. So what this is going to do, this will create a content type called homepage. On it, it will have a main content property. There is a block list. This is a convention thing here. So I need to find a way to unpick that so you can use your own convention and things like that. And the list property will be created as that. And it's not perfect yet. That's why I've not released it yet. And then if you just want to add a row, you can do it like this and it will just create that row for you. And it like this, it feels too conceptual. But if I just share my other thing, so if I share, I've got here rider. So I'll share my rider. I don't like rider, if I'm honest. So here we are. What it does is it goes through and it slices up those things for you and creates all of these components. You know, when you're creating a block list, it will create all of the what it's doing for us here is it's actually creating all of the corresponding CSHTML files for each of those, and it from the attributes that you put on, it works out what it should be in Umbraco. So like with this header file, if we go up here, all I put to create this header was data row name equals header, prop name image, and the location is on the row. And I could do a replace attribute, and I just told it to and use the image media picker. So you need to know all of these things, but that's why I've got the README file. And then so what that's done is, I don't know, yeah, it's actually put that in there for us as well. And you can do things, you can tell it what to use, but the whole point is it's quick blocks. It's quick ways to get you in to turning your static site into an Umbraco site, or just quick ways of building these. You don't have to turn the whole site into it. You could just have some HTML which is in this structure, and then all of a sudden you've got your block list sort of thing. You could then use it for whatever you want, and it creates, like when you run it for the first time, it creates. It's able to separate it out into partials because all you do is data partial name, and so it moved the things into partials for us. And then it renders the body, and because I created a homepage, it automatically created the homepage for us as well. And yeah, it just does it all, just like it feels like magic when you use it. It just automatically just creates the site.
But can you show us where do you put the initial HTML in? Because that was the step that I missed.
I'll show you. Let me share my other screen. Was I sharing it all?
It's a kind of reversed order. Some people are getting towards the static site generation from Umbraco.
Yeah.
And now it's the reversed way of moving the static HTML to components. Yeah.
So what I'll do, I'll just demo it. So rebuild the solution. I'll clean it as well. I want to kill the database. So I wrote some PowerShell script with ChatGPT that allows me to just clean up the database and any of these generated files. And it even got me, I want to write it out in green, so let me. So nice. It's done that. So I'm back to normal. So this stylish HTML is just one that I downloaded from Start Bootstrap. And if you just have a look, it's just like as it came, basically. And all I've done is just gone through. So if I show you the one, this is the one, the original, without the data attributes. And this is the one, I put it into the, not the W root, but the root of my site, you know, the web folder. And then I just added some of these data attributes and went to run it. So let's just run the solution. what it's going to do is it's going to load up an empty Umbraco site now, because I killed the database. I killed the everything else, basically. So we'll just have an empty Umbraco site. So this is my magic trick. Wait for it to load. And so if I just log in here, usual. Right, so I've got a clean Umbraco site, and then if I go into settings, you see it's just clean. So here we've got this QuickBlocks dashboard. So you could enter your HTML in here, like, whatever, or you could load it from the file. So the file that we are going to use is called stylish.html. And that's the one that I've already put the attributes on. So you see all of these. So by saying data row name equals simple link, and this is inside the property which was main content as a block list. I'm saying I want you to create this bit of HTML, put it as a row and called simple link. And I'm also specifying the icon to use as well. So if I just, I know it seems a bit weird, but if I just hit submit, that will then do the creation of it. There we go, it's been done. Now we look in the report, it's got the JSON of the whole object of what it created, if you see what I mean. So it's created a block list called main content, and it's got some rows on it, and then there's the header row, and it's got the properties that it picked up and the HTML for each. And so it passes all of that. I think it's using HTML agility pack. So it works it all out of what it needs to go off and create for us. And then it uses this object to go and do the work. So as part of it as well, it creates a custom folder in data types with your custom properties that it's created. So it's created as a block list here with a header row, simple link row, services row, and things like that. And then within this, I've got two sublists, so a list within a list. Again, all just defined by the data attributes. So services list has got a service item, portfolio list has got a portfolio item. So if we have a look on the document types, so it creates a structure. It's opinionated as well, so it's following my structure that I like to do. So each content model has got a matching settings object, and then they all inherit from the hide property in the compositions, but you could add your own. I might do one for the ID, so you can put the anchor ID in as well.
So that composition is something you ship as a standard?
Yeah, ships with this, but I'll try and make things configurable so you can ignore it, or what, you can do it however you want. I'm just trying to get a happy path working first of all, and then I'll code it in to turn these things on or off. So this is the sort of idea. It creates all of this for you, and then and it also creates the content type to be available on the home at the root of the site. And then now we can just go through and just create one of those rows that it created for us. And again, it's all just based on the things that you just added.
It's fairly effortless. That's really cool.
So you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it really forces the kind of convention ways of doing things, and definitely it will require a lot of documentation to know this data attributes, mappings, and also the magic behind the scenes. But as soon as someone will get familiar with it, it will be a monster tool to really speed up the process of mapping out from HTML into the components like this. And that's
hopefully I don't upset any front-end developers by saying this, but there's some that I've worked with in the past have had a habit of making markup that's just really difficult to content manage, as in it's not clean. It doesn't really think about how something is going to be maintained in the CMS. So an example being like headings where you want some specific breaking or text highlighted or formatted in different ways, and it's very painful to actually to use the CMS for, or often like dynamic content where it's not really thought about. I quite like the idea of putting that responsibility onto the front end developers a little bit. Think about how content's going to be structured. And so this isn't a bad way of doing that by saying, okay, you're going to mark up your markup with things that indicate how this is then going to get used in the CMS. It requires a little bit of an awareness of Umbraco, but still very much not needing to get involved with Razor or anything like that.
Yeah. And then what I've done now is I use the map row and the title row. So it's done my title. Yeah, that doesn't work with that, but you could add a property that sets the background, the text color.
Yeah.
And then this is the embedded a map thing as well. So it's just like it turned something that was just a static thing, and then it automatically, by just adding those data attributes, it's created them for us. But yeah, as I say, I've got all sorts of options and examples of if you want to do this, you can create the block list options. You can make it single block mode, live editing, inline. So the things that
already has documentation. Yeah.
Is it only creating block lists, or is it also? Could I pull something out and say this is a page header and it's a permanent property on a content type?
Yeah, you can use where you just define. You can just override what the there's a property prop type. I think it's prop type. Yeah, so I'm using multi-URL picker there, and that will create, like this is doing multiple links. So yeah, you can define what the property type is that you want. So you could, in theory, create your custom property types first, or import them using uSync first, and then with this, you could then, when you want to run it, you could just define the name of those data types to use for what job, and it'll do it for you.
Yeah. And again, Callum, you've mentioned the kind of markup not matching the content, and exactly this will be great for some of the cases where it is driven or at least reflecting the ways how the content is structured. But at the same time, there are some multiple use cases where it's even required to avoid mapping out content into the structure. So it has its own use cases, and I'm sure that there were a lot of situations I also recall from my past, a lot of situations where we had a markup, and then we needed to replace some of the components to be content managed. The rest can be static because we didn't have time, etc., etc. And in this case, as you mentioned, Paul, some of it can be just decorated with the property attributes, and the rest can stay static, right? And that's nice.
Yeah, it works out as well. So it knows this is a P element, so it knows to do this as a rich text. But you can also tell it, I don't want it to be a rich text. I just want it to be text, or whatever you want, or your own custom rich text editor, if you like, as well. So yeah, there's certain types that it knows about, like an image, it will do it and pull out the URL and things, or a link. I'm trying to do it with as minimal effort possible for the person using it.
Yeah. So now for the minimal effort, everyone who is watching us right now, let Paul know how you would use it, and if you would use it, and for sure you will be able to apply the feedback to there and release the first version, then let people and yourself test it out and do more magic with it, because it has a potential, right, with automation.
I know that you mentioned in your video, Paul, Yuzu, which of course is one of the solutions created by Phil Whitaker Hi-Fi for a similar thing, but I think quite a different approach. So what they've done is they've got a JSON schema that they use to effectively mark up how the properties of each of their contents, or each of their partials, let's say, each of their components of their sites, and then they import that into Umbraco and use that as a way of creating structure. But what they're also doing is they've got a kind of fully integrated front-end, back-end process where they can use that schema to build the static markup to a schema, and then they can run that very same static markup using handlebars in the Umbraco website is the idea.
Yeah.
So it's sort of kind of the reverse of what you're doing, where they're taking they're building their front end around Umbraco and around the content, whereas here it's saying I've got an existing front end or a template or something, and I just want to quickly get that into the CMS as something that's editable. And maybe there's benefits of both approaches. I quite like the data attribute based approach because it's fairly clean, but maybe again some kind of JSON markup to say I want more complex things. Complex things would be cool, but
I think with the complex stuff, I think think the idea with this so far is that it will give you the head start. It will get some of the boring things done for you, the plumbing as such, and then you can then customize it and do whatever you need to do, because there'll be loops and if checks and all sorts and navs and things that you need to actually know how to code. It can't replace everyone's job as Umbraco developers or anything, but it will just make some of the boring stuff happen quicker. And what I always like to do is just get people into Umbraco, like new people into Umbraco. It might be a good avenue for people to, I've turned that into it, and how does it do it? Oh, I see. And then you've got an example to work from.
Yeah.
So the next step is UI for it, right? And it would be a SaaS platform where you have select the URL, and then you select from the page the component and select into what you want to convert it, right?
It could go that far. But basically, what I'm going to do at work, so because Clark's roles let me have time to work on this, I'm actually going to whiteboard some ideas with Zeb from work, and we're going to work out what other features it could have as well. But it's going to be open source, free, MIT license, just out for everyone to use.
You can see how in an agency environment, actually, something like this would be a really great tool to springboard getting started with a build, because I know often front end will start maybe before CMS development will, and then just being able to say, I'm going to pretty much import the front end, and it sort of works out of the box.
Integrate. We'll integrate that, and then it turns out that we need to go back and forth. But also, as we mentioned previously, it will force maybe partially when the mapping will be done to think how this particular bit and markup is managed on the content layer. Because then you can spot it earlier that we can't do anything with it, right? So we need to change the markup or something. Yeah. Good demo.
Well,
it looks really cool.
Very, very cool looking. I look forward to maybe having a play when you're happy to release it, of course. It's all great teasing us, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of people now asking for when it's coming.
Yeah, I'll get an alpha out soon, in the next week at least, at the most.
You heard it here first. Soon. Coming soon. Of course, the link to Paul's video will be down below. You can go have a look at that. Put some questions in the chat for Paul as well if you want, or Twitter. I know Paul's got a tweet with the video too. A few people have already replied to that, so go take a look. Looks really cool. Well done.
Thanks.
We'll just quickly run through some events, because whilst we're talking about blocks, there's a lot of blocks going on in the community, it seems. Coming up Monday, Monday, there is a Copenhagen meetup where there will be a talk from Frederick about block grid and migrating your layout to block grid, as well as a talk from Elitza on the stuff coming up in Umbraco 12, and a talk from Alexander on passwordless authentication with Umbraco. Very cool. I am quite jealous I can't be there. Also, next week on Thursday, the 18th, the Sydney meetup are doing a talk about, you guessed it, blocks, the block grid. David Shales is going to be talking about how he's been using the block grid to sort of organize content and make things a little bit more streamlined. And I think this one has got a virtual element too. So perhaps anyone on the Europe and probably just Europe based on the time it is, you might be able to join and tune in if you want. Looks quite good. Also on the 18th, umbraCoffee, where Carl Saguna is going to be talking about GitHub Actions and continuous integration with Umbraco. And of course, this is the talk he'll also be doing at Code Garden if you can't make it along to Cardiff. But that's on Thursday evening coming up. And also on Thursday evening coming up, we have the Umbraco London meetup, where we have 3 fantastic talks. One about accessibility, and we'll have someone from the accessibility team who's going to fill us in on everything that happened at the Umbrad event that's earlier in the same day. We have a great talk from Richard Jackson, who's going to be talking about his first hands-on experience with Umbraco.net Azure and just getting involved in the community, really. And then Marcin, your colleague, Mikkel, is going to talk a little bit about composable architectures and how he said to me, it's not quite a fully formed talk yet, but it's just a lot of ideas, and he's really excited to share them. So
He's
maybe-
very actively working on it. In the room next to me, when I passed the room, I heard a lot about composability. So
Yeah.
he's really actively into the topic, and
think
I'm jealous that I cannot see it, to be fair, because it might be an interesting dive into the topic.
Could well be, yeah. So those are all coming up next week, Thursday. If you want to try and attend 4 meetups, you absolutely can try. But I think it might be hard pushed. And then after that, we have Adam and Pritesh are going on tour. They are doing the Manchester meetup on the 23rd of May, and also the Leeds meetup on the 1st of June, so the following week, where they'll be talking about Just Say No to Rebuilds and the Strangler Fig pattern, which is also a kind of rehearsal, I think, for their Code Garden talk coming up. So don't worry if you can't make it to those, you'll see them at Code Garden anyway. Lots of meetups happening in the next 2 weeks. And of course, then we have Code Garden. It's literally a month, or 32 days actually, until Code Garden starts. Time is flying by. If you haven't bought your ticket yet, buy your ticket. If your boss hasn't bought your ticket yet, shout at your boss, get them to buy your ticket. I think it's going to be quite a good event. I believe the full program's announced now. Should we take a look? Is there any more surprises? Oh, that's speakers. Wednesday. Yeah, buddy. I think we were going to hear some more detail about that in the coming weeks. Umbraco teased us that the other day. Lots of content from Umbraco HQ themselves. Some highlights. Danny Lancaster's talk, Danny and Molly's talk that they did at DK Fest was my highlight of the whole event. So I really encourage you to watch that one. Sorry to whoever they're up against. Matt Rose is going to be talking. Marcin's talking. I'm talking. Loads of talk. umbraCoffee, as we talked about last week, lots of umbraCoffee with some special surprises as well. I can't say anything more.
Exactly.
But yeah, looks like a really, really exciting, packed event. Go sign up if you haven't already.
Yeah, and anything from your perspective that you're especially looking forward to this year's agenda and Code Garden?
Well, I'll be doing like an internal UBuddy for my colleagues Zeb and Kate. So Kate was on Spark. She was on umbraCoffee.
Had her on umbraCoffee.
Yeah, they're going to be coming over with me. So I'll be like introducing them to people and looking forward to the pre-party and things like that, and definitely scooters. But yeah, I've not had a chance to look at the full talk schedule yet. But mainly it's for this year. It's about introducing the guys from Clarkswell. I say guys.
I always have the intention of, I want to see that talk. And honestly, I can't tell you the last talk I actually went to at Code Garden for various reasons. You end up in the hallway track chatting with someone. You end up in the bar track drinking with someone. You end up preparing for your talk, or we're doing umbraCoffee, or doing loads of other things. There's so much going on that week. So in addition to the packed program. So no stress there really about.
But worth mentioning that this week, if I'm correct, Umbraco released the information that this application SpotMe, right, is right now in use, and they have an agenda there, and we can mark talks as favorites to get the list of things. So there is enough time to get familiar with the agenda and the program, then mark the topics, then follow and generally prepare and get the most out of it. Of course, according to circumstances on the event, because the plan might change, and also the schedule might change, but the application will at least inform us also about the changes. So my personal plan is to really then install the application or get back to the installed version and do a schedule and pencil down what I want to really see, and then try to stick to it.
And if we haven't convinced you yet that you need to download the SpotMe application, it's the only way you'll get a push notification to tell you that umbraCoffee is about to happen. So...
Yes. But we don't have a magic button to send this notification yet.
No, we have to speak to someone, but that will also happen. So go set yourself up on SpotMe as well. If you're attending virtually, that will be how you attend, and it's the sort of social network for the whole of the event. So,
what's the subscriber count now?
On here. Oh, it's you know what? It's actually
it decreased by 2 this week.
Jumped up and down a bit this week, so it's 886 right now.
Oh, it's not far off, is it?
It was 888.
Go like and subscribe. We did have 888 earlier this week. If you unsubscribed, shame on you. Shame on you.
I know Elon Musk is clearing the old unused accounts on Twitter, but I do not assume the same is happening on YouTube. So why we are getting decreased? help us reach out to 1,000.
Something we said. Who knows?
Maybe. Very time or something like that.
A couple last things. So Umbrad, of course, is coming up this week. It's part of the Global Accessibility Awareness Day initiative, and the wonderful team behind the Umbraco Accessibility Group will be doing their Umbrad event on the 18th. It's free, it's virtual, there's no excuse not to attend. You can attend that and 4 meetups in the evening, no problem at all. But yeah, some great sounding talks there from some great looking people. I can't remember where the actual agenda is. It might be here. Do they have the talk? View schedule. There we go.
Yeah.
I'll be attending this.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's some really awesome looking talks here too. That I don't know if it's going to be recorded though, is it? I think you have to be there or you miss it. So I'll try and tune in as well. But yeah, Umbrad next week. Go sign up. It's completely free. No excuse not to. Marcin, you said we spoke about this a few weeks ago. Maybe when I was away. I don't remember it. But Mark Drake has released, continuing this block fever that we've got, has released a Figma version of the block icons that he shared fairly recently. And I love this. They look so nice. And also, they just, I like the idea that the community could collaborate or have a library of common, nice looking icons that you'd have for common scenarios on sites, and especially here where Mark's been kind enough to just open that Figma up so anyone can take those templates. If you've not got a shoe website, change the shoe to a, I don't know, whatever you're selling or that sort of thing. It's really great. So I hope we can all get behind this and maybe help improve it and work on it as a collective, because
open sourcing creative work in this case, right? It's like we discussed it with the uSync team on it, how lovely it would be to have this kind of nice UI or maybe better UI for representing what components we are using, and it's perfectly timed, because if we can make this look and make it more present across the Umbraco solutions, that would be definitely better for them as well.
I know, Marcin, we've discussed before kind of having a bit of a dev crush on the Perplex team and some of the work that they've done to really make their editor experiences as polished and nice as possible. And they're doing things like this, where they've got snazzy icons and just really well thought through components of their CMS. And looking at this makes me excited, because it's the kind of an open source-ish thing, one step towards that. So exciting. And last but not least, Marcin, what's all this about then? You do a webinar next week.
Yes, I'm joining forces with Umbraco and the EnterSpeed team, where we'll be talking about the same kind of topic around upgrades, migrations, and the end-of-life solutions. But we will approach it from the perspective of not doing it just to do it, but to modernize the architecture behind the scenes as an opportunity to really do so. So if anyone is interested in hearing how it can be done, how EnterSpeed can be also used in the solutions like this, I will share more like use cases, and EnterSpeed will show some hows from their perspective. And hopefully
it's on May the 16th. Of course, link will be down below. You can sign up there. Online. It's on Zoom or something. So again, don't even need to leave your chair.
Indeed.
I've signed up for that one. It went the way you just described it. Then it reminds me, at Umbraco Spark, Mark and Jevon did a talk, and they, instead of just doing a migration for a site or an upgrade, it's not an upgrade, it's a migration. They modernize certain aspects of it. In adding in a Redis cache layer, or doing any other, so you can. Just different ways to approach it that will benefit the now and the future upgrade as well. So
that's exactly the angle of that one, because at the same time, if you are just upgrading, and often it's like just a CMS number change. So solutions has their own weaknesses. They have some legacies, and we wrote legacy yesterday, and now we need to upgrade it. So it seems to be a perfect opportunity in some of the cases to really address that upfront too.
it ties in really nicely with this talk that Adam and Pritesh are going to be doing at Code Garden and various northern meetups as well in the UK with this strangler fig pattern, because it's exactly that idea of taking something that you've got, replacing it with new iteratively, slowly, either as part of an upgrade or just generally as part of your system. There's no such thing anymore as burn it to the ground and start from scratch. You can do all of that within a living system. So I really speed thing too.
Yeah, I wanted to say that probably Mika also will touch this topic, because we try to really kind of pick and choose and replace functionalities across the projects. And I still am a huge legacy refactoring fan, because I like old systems because they often work, and we just need to improve them. And so, but of course, having in mind the future, not only today, right? So it is interesting topic, and I'm really looking forward to this Code Garden talk as well, because it seems like exactly what catches my attention recently too.
Yeah, it's something that I find very therapeutic, refactoring and cleaning up and removing legacy and making stuff better. And if there's tools that can help us, like even in Visual Studio now, where it will auto-complete when you've done an action 2 or 3 times to like change a line from something to something else, you can just do tab. That makes my life so much happier. So any tools we can use to make refactoring more fun would be excellent.
True.
Yeah, that was the news from this week. Of course, if we missed anything, as I'm sure we did, let us know in the chat. We'll make sure the link gets included down below as well. Thanks, Paul. Your demo was really awesome. I look forward to having a play with that when it comes out.
Yeah, same.
Do we have anything else to say, Marcin? Other than reminding people to go like, subscribe. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers this year, I think. It's not an unreasonable ask. Come on.
Nothing more to add to that.
Code Garden and not let anyone leave until we've hit it.
We need to do that. We will. But nothing else to that. Thanks, Paul. Really great demo and great work. So looking forward to more out of it. And as usual, if there is anything else to mention or anything else that you are working on and you want to highlight, like today's Paul, let us know, because we are looking forward to having you in the next umbraCoffees.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you around.